Hello and welcome to OPA GCSE Sociology. Today we're going to be looking at why marriage is in decline. Before we do that though, we've got do now on the screen, just a classic 12 marker. So the question is, discuss how far do sociologists agree that divorce is a positive reflection of society. So if we remember, for a 12 marker, you need one paragraph agreeing with the statement, another disagreeing, and then finally conclusion. This is aimed at the highest level, so I'm expecting critiques in there as well. So just some things that you could be adding in there, sort of the outline of the debate. The agree bit, so saying that divorce is a positive reflection of society. You could talk about positivists, if you not positivists, postmodernists rather, if you want, but the main one is really feminists. So you're talking about the fact that any diverse family types allow women to essentially escape the nuclear family that can be seen as sort of encouraging patriarchy and male dominance. It's just this idea of choice. So that would be your agree, saying it can be a positive thing. Obviously, the disagree, so that second paragraph about divorce is obviously going to be functionalists. Remember, they talk about this idea of, think Parsons with the sex role theory, think about the warm bath theory as well. So if there's no nuclear family with people filling their roles, then things break into anime. So just pause the video, time yourself, preferably give yourself 15 minutes to do the whole thing, obviously with a plan before, and I'll be happy to mark this if you bring it in. So just pause the video, and then after that, we'll get on to the next bit. Right, so is marriage in decline? So for your do now, I just want you to have a bit of a guesstimate here. How many people do you think were married in 2018 within the UK? So how many were married? So just pause the video, give yourself 30 seconds, have a guesstimate. You've got a bit of a clue there. Obviously, it's in the 6 digits. So here's the actual figures, and it's a comparison of marriage rates in the 70s compared to more recently. So we can see that in 1972, 480,000 odd people were married or getting married. Compare that to 2018, we got 270,000. So you can see there has been a decline there, gradual decline, probably you would say since the 60s. So late 60s, early 70s. And you can see as well, if you look at the stats there on the screen, you see there was a boom there during the World War II era. And then it peaks a little bit again in the 70s, but goes down from there. So yes, marriage is declining, but we need to look at why. It is a complex thing. And today we're going to be doing a whistle-stop tour over what those key points are. Obviously, you're not in, so you're not going to have access to the pages in the book. So I'm just going to go over it, and then you can note them down. So we're going to look at those different reasons, and I want you just to really note them down. And then as a stretch and challenge, just say, what would the postmodernists think of these changes? So the first point is people are getting married later. So that's making the statistics look as though there's a decline. It's just a fact it's later. And the reasons for that, so we've got this increase in employment and educational opportunities. So that's becoming more of a priority as opposed to getting married and starting a family. But it's also people's attitudes towards premarital sex. So where it's become more relaxed, it means people are having relationships, obviously, where they're having sex before marriage. And essentially it means things are a bit more casual in terms of people might choose to have children before they get married, or they might choose contraceptives and whatnot and not start a family. So there's less pressure really on sort of traditional values, of which having sex before marriage and getting married really early. And you can see the average age there spiking up. So if you look at, we'll just concentrate on men, but you can see women as well. So you can see in the 70s, it was 24 roughly. Then in the early 2000s, 31, and a bit dated, 2013, but you see 32 roughly. So it's gone up over about 40 years, nearly 50 now. Well, just over 50 now. You can see it's gone up by roughly about 8 years. Right, so the other reason is the increasing civil partnerships and same-sex marriages. So Civil Partnership Act in 2005, it's meant that same-sex couples could have their relationships legally recognised. So in 2006, there were 16,000 odd civil partnerships compared to 1,000 odd in 2014. So the point we're making is there may have been a little bit of a spike in the early 2000s because this became a thing, obviously civil partnerships recognised by the government, but because things are sort of normalised and the rate at which people get in civil partnerships has gone down, it's making it look as if marriage is in decline. But the reality is that's sort of the normal rate of civil partnerships later on in 2014, for example. So next one, the increase in cohabitation. So if we remember, cohabitation is this idea of living, it could be with loved ones, it could be with family members, or it could just be a household, it could be people you don't know, but it's this increase in that. So we can see even in a 10-year period from 2008 to 2018, the rate in which people are cohabiting has massively gone up by 500,000. So from 2.9 million people to 3.4 million in 2018. And it's also increased as a proportion of UK households. So it's gone from, in those same years, 15.3% in 2008 to 17.9% in 2018. So that's because many people are seeing cohabiting as an alternative to marriage. So it may be that you are not religious, you're an atheist, and you don't feel the need to get married. It also links into the idea that, again, people are delaying marriage because of the high cost. So we know that getting on the property ladder, so owning a place, even renting, it's really expensive. So obviously saving for a wedding or to get married is also extremely costly. It's roughly around £20,000 to £30,000. So it's quite expensive, quite eye-watering. And also, yeah, culturally as well. So it's become more acceptable because of those changes. It's become more acceptable to cohabit and to live together before marriage, whereas previously it would have been seen as a thing of you get married, then you start living together. And that might even be that you live together at a parent's or family member's house, whereas now it's a lot more acceptable just to cohabit before. So another reason is increase in the birth outside of marriage. So like we were saying before about sex before marriage was seen as a bit of a stigma before, traditionally over the previous decades. Well, now that's sort of seen as normalized. It can be seen as a normal thing. So births outside of marriage is no longer a stigma. In 1988, the proportion of births outside of marriage was roughly 25% compared to 43% in 2006. So you can see that a lot more people are choosing to have children before getting married or not getting married at all. So you've got Alan Crowe adding to this. So terms like shotgun weddings are becoming irrelevant. So if you don't know the term shotgun wedding or shotgun marriage, it's this idea that you're getting married because maybe you're pregnant and you're trying to avoid the stigma of having a child outside of wedlock. So again, essentially all of these things are linking back to this idea of a decline of traditional values. Okay, so the final bit, we've gone over those points. Feel free to obviously pause the video and go back and look at them. I want you just to choose one of these 4 markers to answer, even both of them if you want. And it's roughly 5 minutes per each one. Remember, use that die approach you can see previously. So identify and explain one reason why the average age at which people get married in Britain has increased during the last 30 years. That's one of them. Or identify and explain one factor that may have led to the increase in cohabitation during the last 20 years. To be honest, you can use the same points for these. It's just highlighting the statistic in a different way. Remember the difference between a 4 and a 3 marker, you're getting 2 marks for that identifying bit, as opposed to if it was a 3 marker, it would just be the 1. So there's nothing really different to the structure of a 3 and a 4 marker. So give yourself 5 minutes, do one of those, and then bring it into class, and I'll be happy to mark that. And that concludes the video.